Everything small is just a smaller version of something big. Here's your look at the upcoming release of the Mondo Adventure Time Finn and Jake Algebraic Polystone statue. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of Cartoon Network's beloved animated series Adventure Time and the release of Adventure Time Distant Lands, Mondo are proud to bring you this Adventure Time statue featuring Finn with his best friend and adopted brother, the magical dog Jake. Before we get a closer look at this incredible new release from Mondo, of course, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how big the new Adventure Time statue actually stands. To note, this is an early sneak peek, as this Adventure Time statue is going to be slated to release in August 2020. I'd like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Mondo who made this review possible by sending this early sample my way. If you consider yourself a pretty big Adventure Time fan and would like to add this one to your collection, I'll provide the link down below that you can head on over, beeline your way on over to Mondo's website, and you can add this one to your cart. Again, it's going to be released in August 2020. Now, I've deliberately kept the statue on my turntable simply because the statue is quite heavy, surprisingly. There is so much going on down below in the base. We're going to have a closer look at that. But in the meantime, I'm going to spin this around to the back of Finn, simply because the sword that's held in his hand seems the highest point on the statue. And from there, I'm going to take my trusty tape measure, starting it, I should say, only at the base itself, and stopping it to the tip of the sword. Let's stop it right there. According to the readout, you're looking at the new Adventure Time statue from Mondo, standing 9.6 inches in height. And 9 centimeters makes the statue 24.3, almost 24.5 centimeters tall. The version of the statue that we're going to be having a look at is the exclusive version that comes with one other character. Judging, yes, by the fact that I'm holding BMO in my hand, you could probably guess who that exclusive character is. It is little tiny BMO. Done in the same color scheme that he has in the cartoon, this sort of bluish-based gray. The colors, of course, are very accurate to the way that he looks in the cartoon, right down to the fact he's got the little BMO raised lettering on both sides. A big smiley face with little black rainbows for his eyes. I like the coloring also on the front there, where you've got the yellow on the gamepad as well as alternating colors of green, yellow, and red, here with the little buttons on the sides. He's smiling, he's waving, and even though you could technically go the standard release that of course would omit BMO altogether, I feel like the team wouldn't be complete, the journey wouldn't be as fun without little tiny BMO going for the ride. So if you are looking to pick this one up for yourself, I would suggest probably going the route of getting the exclusive, simply because you can get little BMO to come along with it. Now, to fit the figure onto the stand, being that this specific character doesn't actually peg in anywhere, you could really put him anywhere, really. But if you can see, judging by how much clutter is along the back, there's not much space, and results usually when you put BMO in other places, he feels like he's teetering off the ledge, and that's the last thing you would want. The best place to put him is either by the foot of Jake, but even still, it sort of feels like he's sliding off the edge, or the best place is actually to put it right by Finn's foot, where the coins have parted ways. You can kind of put the BMO figure right there. And again, I like the fact that with the exclusive, they didn't strip down anything else to it. They either gave you the option of going BMO or without BMO. But if you ask me, if you're going to be getting the statue for yourself, I'd go the route of getting the exclusive simply because you can get little BMO along with it. Picking up the base of the statue just so I can show you guys the underside. Underneath, you've got yourself CN, of course, Cartoon Network Adventure Time, done in a very large black font, outlined in white. Down below that, you've got Polystone statue. This, again, is the Mondo exclusive, along with Mondo's website at www.mondotees.com. You can also see that this base has been graced with 4 rubberized feet that they've put on each of the somewhat corners of this round base. Of course, with these, this prevents scratching when you put this onto the surface, a tabletop, or anywhere you decide to display this one for yourself. According to their website, actually, the statue weighs 13.73 pounds. I would even argue that it feels even heavier than that. You don't really experience how heavy it is until you actually get the base in your hand for yourself. Certainly one of the benefits of keeping this statue on my turntable is it gives me the opportunity to be able to freely spin it. This allows you also the opportunity to see all the exquisite detailing that Mondo put into the actual parameter of the stone base. The base itself has been colored in a way that looks more cartoon than realistic, which works perfectly for this type of statue. If you look at all the sculpting that they actually incorporated to the base itself, it looks like we're looking at a full-out treasure map, and all the places and locales that Finn and Jake have traveled. Details I also really like are these little cracks that they've got sticking into the faux stone. And again, just a lot of cool stuff going on just in the base itself. And that's before we even look at the other things that are going on in this base. There's certainly a lot to feast your eyes on. Before attaching Finn to the statue's base, I feel we should spend a little bit of time talking about Jake the dog, who apparently couldn't wait for Finn to arrive before diving headfirst into the mountain of gold coins, treasure, and jewels. When you do get this statue out of its box, the base as well as Jake come as you see, fully assembled. You don't have to add Jake at all when you first get this out. So you want to be careful, of course, taking the statue out of the foam tray, the styrofoam tray, as these arms, being that they are made of polystone, could be susceptible to breaking. Jake has been very nicely painted, accurate to his cartoon colors. A color of yellow I could best describe as maybe like an egg yolk yellow. Nice, vibrant, bright white eyes outlined in black panel lining, as well as some black done to his nose, a pink tongue, and the interior of his mouth done in all burgundy red. A lot of cool stuff Mondo has put into their statue's base here. Of course, we did see the side here where Jake is sticking his way out from the coins. I do like that the coins have been done in a metallic gold rather than matte gold. Not only do they pop, but it also isn't the same similar color to Jake. If they had gone the route of a matte gold, I feel like the color would be too close to the yellow of Jake's body. Of course, we do have the waffles with a square of melted butter along the top, the treasure chest with the skull featured on the front, and even a neighboring red ruby, which I might also add is a different red from the treasure chest, and that's a really nice touch. Continuing our way around the statue, we're treated to a skull, which has been painted nicely. In the recessed areas of its eyes, it's been airbrushed a dark gray. The crack that's formed along the top of its head, for example, has been airbrushed a nice blue. Mind you, that's just one side of the statue. When we spin it around, a feast for the senses. All the different styles of swords and different colors. There's actually 3 swords, although right now it only looks like 2. I'll bring one in a second. You have a partially eaten sandwich, a dollar bill, or probably a little higher of a denomination than a dollar, a violin, and also a book located here on the side as well. Now, I did technically say that there was 3 swords. I'm looking at it right now. You can only see, I'm sure, 2. But right next to that pink sword, there's a recessed area that looks like a rectangular shape. Well, they actually do give you also this broad blade red sword with, as you can see, the hilt done in brown. If you flip the blade around, there's a similar shape to the shape that's in that square peg. And all you have to do is just attach the sword. This, when you get this out of the box, is a separate piece. You can't simply just push it in. You actually have to take the tip of the sword and feed it behind the coins so that you get a sense and level of depth. Then from there, this just attaches in place, and you've got yourself another sword. They probably did this as a separate piece. Because the sword sits so far higher than the actual shield, there's not really much to literally shield that sword, prevent it from breaking. So instead of actually trying to have the collectors pull this from the tray and not break the hilt of the sword, they simply did one thing better. They just made the sword as a separate piece that you have to add yourself. In between the violin and the book affixed to the statue's base, you'll also see a familiar square opening, as if something belongs there. Slithering off from the side of the screen and into the frame here, Mondo includes the little waving snail. The snail is a character that's hidden in every episode of Adventure Time, short of the animated shorts Food Chain, The Wand, and the Frog Season shorts. It's nice to see that they would have actually included this. Such a cute little snail. Look at his eyes and his little tiny mouth. The snail has been colored in a off beige yellow color, similar to like a custard. I don't know why I feel the need to compare my colors to food, but that works for me. Of course, you see his little tiny antennas, you want to be careful of those, and his little tiny hand waving at you. While the snail has been done in this off yellowish beige, the shell has been done in brown. And they have not added any additional colors to it, no contrasting dark colors. It actually works well for all of these characters because they feel a little bit more like their cartoon counterparts. When you are attaching the snail, these are actually attached via magnet. Technically, no, they attach by pegs, but there's actually based in there is a little magnet. You can probably even see it outlined there. This does help to keep everything stable and in place, as opposed to the BMO, you're sort of just resting onto the statue's base. The snail stays very securely in place. That'll also be the case with Finn and his arm. I feel also the sword is magnetized. The way it's resting against the shield, I can't imagine that there's enough to hold that sword in place. So I gotta believe that magnets are also behind the scenes, keeping that sword where it is. Now comes the time to add Finn, and Finn basically attaches the exact same way as all the other things that we've added to the statue's base. He comes in two parts, so if it seems like he's missing a limb, it's simply only because Mondo had it as a separate piece, and that just attaches in place. I really like to add the sword and the arm as the last thing, because you don't want to be worrying about putting Finn in place and then having that arm fall off, although again, it's magnetized. Before we go ahead and add Finn, I just want to show you guys the close-up look at his face. What a happy little fellow. Big smile with his visible teeth and tongue in the back there. I like the dark, again, eyes, and like with Jake and the snail and all the other things that we've looked at on the statue, there's very little of additional airbrushing of, shadows, highlights, lowlights. They've really kind of kept it primarily just to the main color of the characters as they appear in the cartoon. To be fair though, Finn does have some afforded additional airbrushing that's been done around the tops there of his hat. You can see almost like an off, slightly greenish color that's been airbrushed there. But the majority of the figure, there's not really much of anything else other than just the main primary colors of his costume. The green backpack located on the back, the two-tone effect of the lighter, more avocado green, there I am comparing it to food again, and the more darker lime green down below. He has an awkwardly placed peg, but again, you're not going to be seeing it anyways. And he also, of course, has his dark black shoes. It's really a nice looking rendition of the way that he looks from the cartoon, being that he is also made of polystone. All of the pieces on this statue are made of polystone. You want to be careful of things like his arms, for example, because they are thin and very lanky and slender. But to attach the figure to the stand, right located on the side, kind of between Jake and the shield, you'll see right there is an opened area. You're literally just going to take the peg that's located on the underside of Jake's tush, and you're just going to fit that in place. Now, when you are attaching it, Jake actually doesn't stay straight up. You feel almost compelled, like you want to put him straight down and have him sitting straight up, but he actually sits on an angle. All the more reasoning why it's really good that they used magnets. I would be a little bit more worrisome, I feel, putting that in its place and only just relying on the shape and the friction of that peg to keep those characters at bay. But because they did use magnets, Jake, as well as the snail, as well as the sword, all stay very securely in place. And then last, and certainly not least, the only thing then we have to do is take his broadsword. I did mention that they didn't really have any additional paint to it. That's not 100% true. Technically, Finn's sword has been done here in a two-tone yellow, more lighter yellow, and then that airbrushed kind of sunset yellow being utilized there. I like also these little scratches, these cross-hatchings of this darker gold color that's been done at the base, right by the hilt, and at the top of the sword as well. And you've got the little notations and little notches in the sides of the blade. Now, to attach this, I would again recommend doing this as the last thing. Simply just going to take this and you're going to fit it into the socket. And once it's securely in place, you've got yourself a finished, fantastic looking Adventure Time statue. There are two things that work hand in hand in this release of Mondo's new Adventure Time that make the statue a success. The first and primary obviously being the sculpt, delivering strong likenesses of both Finn and Jake, and to a lesser extent Little Tiny Snail and BMO. All the characters look like their cartoon counterparts, literally looking like they pulled it from the cartoon screens and presenting here in the statue. Of course, that's just the main characters. As you wander your eyes around, this luckily being on a turntable, there's really a lot of things that compete for your attention. Of course, you feel compelled to display the statue from the front, but I would almost even do one better. If you are looking to pick this one up for yourself, I would consider the idea of even putting it on a turntable, because while you see the front of it, there's so much on the back I feel you're missing as a result of it. When it comes time to display this for myself, I feel compelled like I will be putting it on a turntable, simply so I can always see all the different things that Mondo incorporated into the statue. The second one, of course, making the statue being successful is the paint, delivering very accurate colors to their cartoon counterparts. I like with the paint work that didn't feel the need to add unnecessary shading, highlights, and lowlights. That's not the point of Adventure Time. They keep to the simplicity of the animation and the simplicity of the colors, and I'm glad they kept that the same way when it came time to release this statue for themselves. Now, this one is the exclusive that's going to come included with BMO. In a way, I would have actually thought it would have been cooler to incorporate this snail as the exclusive. But again, being that the snail has pretty much appeared in every episode short of a few of the shorts, I guess it probably makes more sense that BMO is the exclusive added accessory if you are looking to go that route. I would say, though, as an Adventure Time fan, it makes more sense, and it feels so empty a bit not having BMO as part of the team. So if you are in the market of picking this one up for yourself, when it does have its eventual release in August of 2020, I would suggest going the route of the exclusive so that you can kind of get that little tiny BMO as part of the team. And you can face, of course, in the front, along with Finn and Jake. As I said, this one is going to be released in August of 2020, so that's coming up soon. So if you guys are looking to add this one to your collection, a big Adventure Time fan yourself, I'll provide the link down below to Mondo's website. And as I said, this one's coming out in August 2020. The price point for the exclusive, I believe, is $255. A big thank you to the folks over at Mondo for making this review possible by sending this early sample my way. If you guys are new to this channel and digging the content you're seeing and haven't done so yet, consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below. Consider the idea of hitting that bell notification. And consider the idea of staying tuned, because there's certainly going to be a lot more videos coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.